Alright, so let's try some more examples for factoring. Note that in this case we have three expressions that have three terms, and also let's note that the a value for all except for the last example has a 1, or in other words is just x squared. So since they all have a 1, that means basic factoring will work for us in this case. We don't have to go through any extraneous forms of factoring. So do realize we have this in expanded form, so we want to factor all the expressions. Let's go for the first one. So we have x squared plus 8x minus 12. And let's notice that we're looking first of all for the multiples to give us negative 12. So when multiplied, give us negative 12. Let's see. Negative 1 times 12 gives us negative 12. Negative 2 times 6 gives us negative 12. And negative 3 times 4 gives us negative 12. Notice I'm just putting the negative sign randomly at the first number. Nothing specific for now. We're going to check in the next one whether we did it correctly or not and change it if needed. Okay, now let's realize that when added, the multiples that we just found should give us a total of 8. So added gives us, and it's a positive 8, so do keep that in mind. Notice it does not include the x once again. So we have negative 1 plus 12, that's the first set of multiples. Well, let's see, negative 1 plus 12 gives us 11. Okay, that won't work, it does not give us 8. Negative 2 plus 6 gives us 4. That won't work either, we need it to be 8. Negative 3 plus 4 gives us 1. Well, that won't work either. So, let's see if maybe the signs is what made the difference. Well, how about if we switch the signs? So instead of having it on the 1, we placed it on the 12. So it's 1 times negative 12 still gives us negative 12. And now in this case, 6 times negative 2, whoop, well, it can go in the 6 or in the 2 and it'll give us the same amount. So do be aware of that. 3 times negative 4 gives us negative 12. Okay, 1 minus 12 still gives us negative 11. Well, we can say 6 minus 2 gives us positive 4, or 2 minus 6 will give us negative 4. It still won't give us the positive 8 that we need. 3 minus 4 gives us negative 1. Still not 8. So it looks like in this case, it won't work. So let's call this in prime polynomial. Since we try all the different multiples, but when we try adding them, they still won't give us 8. So that's as far as we can go for this one through this form of factoring. Do keep in mind, we can factor but through other formats. But for this kind, we can't. Okay, let's try the x squared minus 9x plus 8 up next. Okay, so once again, multiples that give us 8. Well, let's list them. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 4 is 8. Alright. So, to remember that when added, it should give us negative 9. Okay. Let's see. 1 plus 8 is 9. Hey, this is pretty close. Except it gives us a positive 9. We need it to be negative 9. 2 plus 4 gives us 6. Well, that won't work. That just means that in this case, we gotta flip the signs on the first multiples. So we still need a positive 8, so that means both of them have to be negative. Negative 1 times negative 8 will give us 8. And it's negative times negative, a positive 8. So that works. Negative 2 times negative 4 will give us also positive 8. Since they're both negatives now. But let's try adding. Well, or subtracting in this case. Negative 1 minus 8, well, they're both negative. So the quantity gives us 9. And since they're both negative, it's negative 9. So that works actually for both cases. The multiplication and the added. So we don't need to try the next one since the next one, negative 2 minus 4, will not work. It'll give us negative 6. So our first option works. It's a negative 1 and negative 8, the combination that works for factoring. So finally placing into our set of parentheses, x minus 1 times in the other quantity or other set of parentheses, x minus 8. And this is the factor form. Keep in mind, you're welcome to try and check through the second format, expanding. So x minus 2x minus 8 is the other example. Okay, so x squared, right? Multiplied equals negative 8. So we're looking for the negative 8. Okay, so negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. When added, it should give us negative 2. Negative 1 plus 8 gives us 7. That won't work. Negative 2 plus 4 gives us positive 2. Oh, that's pretty close. We need the opposite sign, though. Okay, so that means we gotta flip the sign of the other one. So 2 times negative 4. So the sign has to be on the 4. This still gives us negative 8. And 2 minus 4 now gives us negative 2. Hey, this works. So it works for both. So that is the correct combination. X plus 2 in one parenthesis and x minus 4 in the other. Notice that the signs work out on their own. So we get a positive 2 and a negative 4 for the factored form of this. Do remember, you can also check by expanding once again. Okay, for the next one, 25x squared minus 9. Well, that looks like a difference of 2 squares. So let's write the formula. And a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus v in one parenthesis times in the other parenthesis a minus v. Once again, keep in mind difference of 2 squares. Always write your formulas just before your problems or at the top of your page. It makes it easier to visualize. So 25x minus 9. Well, x squared minus 9. Well, the x has a square already, but the 25 does not. The 9 does not either. Well, it doesn't quite look like a squared minus b squared at all. That just means we need to work it a little bit. Let's see, we take 5. 5 times, well, 5 squared, right? Will give us 25. We already have the square on the x. And then 3 squared will give us 9. Well, we're getting pretty close. Notice that the 5 has a square, the x has a square also. So we could probably just factor the squares out. So call it 5x in parentheses and a square on the outside. We already had the square on the 3. So hey, look at this. If you cover up the 5 with your finger, or your hand, depending on how big the screen is, you can see that your a would be the 5x, and the v would be the 3. So now we can finally write the difference of 2 squares in factored form. So 2 sets of parentheses, one has a positive, one has a negative in the middle of the parentheses, and our a values, the 5x, and our v values, the 3's. Look at that, it works. Keep in mind, you can check by expanding this as well. And to remember that this is the factored form, we started originally with the expanded form.